So I've been learning how to eat healthy over the last few months. I've been changing everything about the way I've eaten, and I've lost a lot of weight. But you know what I've noticed is even when I know I'm eating healthy, and even know when I'm doing the right thing, and even though I know that it's good for me, there's an appetite in me that always wants a little more. I don't just want the healthy food I'm eating, I want the 3 jalapeno poppers over on the counter. I don't just want the jalapeno poppers, I want them wrapped in bacon. I don't just want them wrapped in bacon, I want them filled with cream cheese. We always have appetites that are asking for more and more. And Jesus confronted this in no other way than we run into normally. He had a man come to him and say, Jesus, my brother and I are having a dispute. We're both getting an inheritance, and he's not splitting it fairly with me. I want more. Will you settle this dispute? And Jesus, recognizing that human and normal need to always want more for ourselves, tells them a parable. And this is what he says. He told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man produced a good crop. He thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. And then he said, this is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And there I'll store all my grain and my goods. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you've prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with anyone who stores up things for himself, but is not rich towards God. What Jesus is saying here is that when we want more for ourselves, we are defeating everything that he's created us for and everything that he's placed us in our lives for and everything that he's already taught us about what bringing heaven to earth looks like through the kingdom of God in us. You see, if Christ is on the throne of our hearts, it's not about more for us, it's about giving more. 2 Corinthians 9:11 says basically that we should be enriched in our own lives so that we can be generous. In other words, God is giving us so much so that we can spread it and give it and share it. But what's the problem with the attitude this rich man had? As a matter of fact, he planted these crops and he had a bumper year, great crops. Maybe the water was really good that year and the crops grew extra, more than he ever expected. That's not a bad thing. Haven't you ever had a year where you got more in commission or more in financial gain than you thought you would? That's not a bad thing. We want that all the time. The problem is that the man saw that financial gain only in his own way. My crops, my barns, my wealth. And he said, not how can I take the extra above blessing that God has given me and give it away so that others would know the glory of God. He said, how can I keep it for myself so that I can go into manager mode and not have to work anymore? There's nothing wrong with storing up for retirement. There's nothing wrong with putting things aside so that you have a secure place when you get older. But when God blesses you above and beyond what you're expecting, you should be blessing others above and beyond. And Jesus goes right to the heart of our attitude so often in this parable because he goes right to our wallets, where we feel it the most, where it's hardest to say, I need to give more than I receive. Where it's hardest to say, I don't really deserve this extra. I'm going to give it away because God has blessed me. Where it's hardest to say, but no to this extra blessing because we've worked so hard all of our lives to try to make a way for ourselves. We live in the wealthiest nation in the world, in the most blessed time in history. You are richly blessed. Jesus tells us that he richly blesses us for the sake that we might richly bless others. So my question today is, whether you make a lot of money or a very small amount is not the issue. The question is, what are you going to do when God blesses you? Are you going to keep it? Are you going to hoard it? Are you going to store it up? Jesus said, that very night, the rich man's life was demanded of him. And what was the good of all of that wealth that he stored for himself? It was for nothing. Jesus is reminding us that we, as good and faithful servants, have been given resources by God so that we could share generously the goodness of God so that others might know who He is. Is there a family in your life down the street, or a friend of yours, or a younger couple that you can bless in any way? Is there someone at church who just needs a little bit of encouragement and some financial help? It might be paying for the person in line behind you at Chick-fil-A's order, or it might be taking money you had set aside, not even knowing what you would do with it, and giving it freely with no strings attached to the work of God. I'm praying that you're going to see what God is calling you to be generous in your joy, joyful in your generosity. As always, we want to hear your comments, questions, and prayer requests on these videos. If you'll put them right here on this screen with this video, and share this video with your friends so that they can begin to be a part of bringing heaven to earth, just as we're learning through the words of Jesus Himself. Join me as we do that.